6 over 60, a show about living a great life at a great age. This show is made possible because of You Care and Northern Tier Insurance.
Hi, welcome to 6 over 60. This is going to be a really fun show and I'm so excited. I'm with Terry, Shannon here in Frazee, Minnesota. And before we reveal what we're talking about, you're a Frazee boy, right?
I'm a Frazee guy. I was born and raised in Frazee. I married a Frazee girl over there, and we had Frazee children.
Oh my gosh.
Frazee's my hometown.
This is your hometown. So, and then you were the county sheriff, is that right?
Yes. Yep. I started out, I was a police officer in Moorhead, and then I didn't like the sheriff that we had here in Becker County, so I ran against him and got his job. And I was a county sheriff here for 2 terms, and then I actually got, midlife crisis. I bought a flying fishing resort up in northern Ontario.
Oh my gosh.
And I was up there 8 years flying airplanes. Then I come back, I'm going to retire, and ended up as police chief in Perm for 8 years. So I've had a real interesting career, and the people in this county and this area here have been so good to me and my family that, this, like I said, this is my home. I just love this place.
And this is what's been fun about this series is everybody so far, most of them have been born and raised, grew up, either left for a little while and came back, but they're all locals from Frazee and Perm. And so
yeah, years ago, I got, way back when I was young, got a lot of job offers, and every offer would require us to move to a large metropolitan area. And I told my wife, and we talked it over, and I said, we can go down there, make big money, save all year long to come back and spend 2 weeks where we want to be. Let's make a little less and stay right here. And it was one of the smartest decisions, other than marrying her, that I've ever made,
Awesome. So Terry was suggested from a Perm friend of mine, and he is I'm pretty much going to say the famous metal detector, right? You're the legend.
They call me the legend. In fact, they made me a hat that says Terry the Legend.
Oh my gosh.
I got cups that say the legend. I've got it's interesting.
Awesome.
And I'm having the time of my life. We have our home here in Frazee, but we also have a home down in Florida. And on Florida, where we live, it's called the Treasure Coast. And it's actually about 35 miles just south of Cape Canaveral. In fact, when the rockets go up, my wife and I just step out the door and we can watch them go up, And way back in 1715, there was 11 treasure ships. Spain had been at war for a long time and it was broke. And they had 11 treasure ships that were coming, from Cuba, going by up the straits of Florida there on the way to Spain. And a hurricane sank all 11 of those ships. And they were sank in shallow water, 10 to 15 feet of water. And out of the 11, they found 6. And the average salvage has been about 41 million per ship. And there's another Spanish ship, the Atocha, that sank down by the Florida Keys, and Mel Fisher and his group have been salvaging that, and that's, I think right now, is over 500 million, and they expect it to go another 500 million by the time they're done salvaging it. The treasure is just unreal. And what these ships are bringing up, they sank. In fact, one of the ships actually was on shore, and they used it as a headquarters. But while they were doing the salvaging, that's when the piracy started, and the pirates were, coming in and robbing them and stuff like that. So a lot of the treasure, when they found it, they would bury it and then dig it up again. And the stuff I find, there's some of it washes in from, the ocean, and some of it washes out as, I tell everybody I'm the only guy down in Florida that prays for bad weather every day. I want the storms,
Oh, you do, because then it washes stuff in.
It moves sand and washes stuff in, and I run around with a big smile on my face,
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see some of the stuff. You're not going to believe this. I'm blown away. When we said we had a metal detector, I was like, come on over here, Adam.
I tell you that
so you can get a better look. Oh, there we go. I'm going to move the salt and pepper shaker. Oh my gosh.
These are Spanish coins. This is an 8 real. And that's, this one here, if it had a date on it, would be 1711. You can tell by the shield on the back, or the shield on the date here. And this would be 1 ounce of silver. And they used to cut these things to make change. That's where they got the expression, pieces of 8. And like, an 8 real is 1 ounce of silver. Let's see if I can find, here's a 4 real, that'll be a ½ ounce. A 2 real, this is thinner, that's why it's a 2, is a 1/4 ounce. And I've got, down to one.
These
And
little guys down here?
yeah, these, well, here's a 1 right here. And then a half is so these would be like 1 ounce of silver, ½ ounce of silver, 1/4 ounce, 1/8 ounce, 1/16 of an ounce. And like they're called cob coins because they're all rough. Everyone's different. And when they brought them back to Spain, if they would have got to Spain, they would have been melted down and turned into this type of coin. This is called a pillar dollar.
Let's show the camera. That's called the
Pillar dollar.
Oh my gosh.
The pillars right here, these are called the Pillars of Hercules. I believe I got it upside down here. The Pillars of Hercules. And this one is dated 1741. But the belief was when you went through these pillars, there was untold wealth, which was the New World. And so it's quite a history about it. But anyway, that's a story on the cob coins. Then the gold coins are called escudos. And it's the same thing with the escudos. They go down, like this is a 1 escudo. They don't go down to the half. And these coins sell. They're highly prized. The regular ones. You can say anywhere from say $600 to upward. And the escudos, they'd start about $6,000-7,000 and upwards. So
I'm just blown away.
Yeah.
You just what do you do when you find something like this? Do you just keep it quiet?
I have to tell you a story.
It's like catching a fish. You don't brag when you caught a fish in a certain.
Let me look for this coin here if I can find it.
I cannot
Here
believe
it is, right
this.
here. I remember this one vividly. This coin. This is an 8 real. And what happened? I had a buddy.
Show the camera here.
The buddy Jerry Pope and I were out detecting, and we were just digging like mad. There was a bunch of erosion, and we were getting these white sinkers and chains and stuff like that. And we didn't find any Spanish treasure or anything like that. So the next day, Jerry had to work, so I go back to that spot, and I found this coin. The erosion had gone in another foot or so, and I dug down, I had the signal, and it actually must have been on the side because it fell down to the bottom of the hole, and I could see it. I reached down and picked it up. But what's neat, when you find something like this is a coin, that nobody has touched this coin for 300 years. See? And you got to show somebody. And there was an old lady sitting out right in front of her house. See, so I went over to her, and of course it's all encrusted that. And I said, look at this coin. I said, this is a Spanish 8 real from the 1715 fleet. I said, nobody has touched this coin for 300 years. I said, for an old guy like me, it's better than sex.
Oh,
and she looked up at me and said, well, in my case, it's chocolate.
Oh gosh.
I really wish I wish I had thought to bring her back a box of chocolates.
Oh, man.
That's one of the great things about this hobby is the people you meet and the exercise. Like these here are encrusted ship spikes. This is part of a keel pin, and this is what they look like when you find them. Here's one that I've kind of cleaned up, and you can see this is what they look like when they find them and you clean them up. This would be the front part of the ship, and over here these are ship spikes. These are bronze ship spikes, and these go way back probably to the 1500s and that stuff. And by 1715 these are too expensive, so that what they were doing is went to the iron spikes. So there's several theories. They figure that maybe the people that were affluent and owned the ship, rich people, would use these bronze spikes, or they use the bronze spikes below the waterline. But I think the theory is that they're just older, and when they got to the steel, it was cheaper. They started, doing. So to me, when I find one of these, I get all excited because I know I'm right. Treasures nearby.
Oh my gosh.
Musket balls. Here, these are musket balls. I got into an area a couple years ago. I found 210 musket balls in a 3-day period, and 1 Spanish coin. I think the coin is in here somewhere. Yeah, it's this coin right here. I found this coin. And 210 musket balls in a 3-day period.
Jeez.
It don't take much to get me excited. I told my wife one day, I told her, I said, today I'm going out and I'm going to find a ring from the 1715 fleet. They're worth a lot of money. And the first ring I dug up was this one right here.
Oh my gosh.
And I wasn't excited at all. Put it in my pocket. It's just a plain ring. This ring here had a 14 karat mark. So when I got home and seen it was 14 carats modern, I wasn't excited at all. I had a friend, I was showing him this one, and he looked at it. This is a posy ring. And inside, in Old English script, is written, "Godly love will not remove." And these go way back to like the 1500s. The inscription used to be on the outside, but it's an Irish love ring.
Oh.
You know, and so this one has a maker's mark. And so I took a picture of the maker's mark and the inscription, sent it over to England, and I sent it to two groups over there. One said both of them said it's an Irish ring, and one said it was dated 1604, and the other one said 1654, right in that range. So it's a 1600 ring. You know.
Let me hold it again. I won't.
Yeah.
Wow. Look
So
at it.
you know that's
Let's put that back in there.
yeah, that's kind of exciting, you know, stuff you find. It
And Adam, just kind of get this on camera, like all this other little.
yeah, I just found this ring here this year, and I'm doing some research on it. It's broken, it's worth nothing, but this one goes back prior to 1500, and it would be Arabic ring, and I'm still doing some research on that, but it goes way back. You know, here's something that's kind of different off the charts, but this is a coin that I found in the Otter Tail River this year, or last year, detecting the Otter Tail River. And this is a Chinese coin. It was made in China, but it's a Vietnamese coin. And there's a Chinese restaurant up here, these people are friends of mine, and she said it dated about 1837 or 47.
Oh my gosh.
And then there's another Chinese lady that's a friend of mine down in Florida, and she said exactly the same thing. So, but in the Otter Tail River, you know. And here's a statue. This is a lead statue of Christ. And it's got the heart on the outside. Apparently some of the religions still do that. But it was when they dug up and put the new alley in, and I found this coin right beside it. This is a seated dime, and the dime is dated 1875. So this thing here and this coin was before Frazee was a town.
Wow.
You know, so that the history part is really exciting. That's
Yeah.
where I get excited. You know, like this thing here is off a lamp on the tail end of the ship. It's called phenol or phenol.
Let's show the camera that so he can see
Okay,
it.
and I didn't clean it up. That's just the way I found it. But I was in finding other artifacts, and this come off one of the lanterns. I believe it would be on the stern castle of one of the sailing ships.
You know this? Can I hold? Can I pick
Yeah,
this
you
up?
can pick up anything you want.
Like this.
Yeah, there's a spoon.
That.
Here's a.
Just because it's like, wow, who ate off that
Yeah.
last?
This is a pewter spoon handle, and I found that one night I was telling you when I was so late coming home, and I found that, and I found this Spanish coin. I actually found 5 of these Spanish coins the next day at that spot, and my finger keeps sticking out. I lost some fingers here, but anyway, I was watching a video on YouTube, a guy in Vermont, and he found an identical pewter spoon handle and a Spanish coin. You know, and so I contacted the metal detecting company. They contacted both of us, and they did a story on both of us together on you know, with like YouTube on the stuff.
And then let's look at your metal detectors. Then we're going to show you more stuff.
Yeah, these are the metal detectors. This is a Garrett AT Pro. This is a real old metal detector. This is probably the 5th one of these that I've owned. You know, I'll never be without one. They're just really a good metal detector. And then this one here is a brand new, it's a Noka Legend. And they're a heck of a detector, really, you know, multi-frequencies. See, down in the ocean water or the beaches are really mineralized. So you need a detector with multi-frequencies that'll handle it. And this will. And then this one here is a Deus 2. This is a French detector. And they sent me that detector, you know, for free, and this one also that I get to use, and I kind of write up a story on what I think of them, and I'm brutally honest. If I don't like it, I'll say something, you know. And but these are great detectors, honestly. On this detector here, this Legend, I went out and met a buddy of mine out in North Dakota at the old one of the old forts out there, Fort Beaufort, and that's where they had the Indian Wars. And in a 2-day period, I dug.
Let's get that ring back in there. You're
there's
so
over-
funny. You just like put the stuff
I think
around.
there's 230 bullets here. And what's neat about these bullets, this is from the Indian Wars, you know. And this happened right after Custer. You know, I kind of getting off track here, right after Custer. And when the Indians came on and the chief surrendered, they shot all the horses and shot all the dogs. So I think all them, but these bullets come out of the killing field. But there was a field where there was a field shaped like this. The natives are down here and the soldiers were down here. So here, every one of those shell casings was shot by a soldier at the Indians up here. And every one of the bullets in there was shot by these Indians at the soldiers. And just the opposite is proved. These shell casings were shot by the natives at the soldiers, and the bullets were shot at them from the soldiers. So I kept them separate. But I started here in the morning, and I didn't get, it was toward the end of the day when I get over there, so I should have had many more bullets. But I kind of kept it. But it's neat. You could actually follow a soldier as he was marching up the field. You could be followed by the shell casings, you know, and that stuff. So, you know, that's what's so neat about this hobby. I mean, you're into so much different stuff.
And before we move on, tell us a little bit about this, because you told me about this.
Oh, okay.
When you first got here.
This coin here, I had it put in the bezel, but this is the very first Spanish coin that I ever found, and it has a date on the bottom. It says 701, and that would be 1701, and it's a 2 real minted out of the Potosi mint. I showed it to the state archaeologist, and the archaeologist did a bunch of research on it, and then he called me up and asked me to bring it over again. And he said it was rather rare. There's not another one known.
Oh my gosh.
And then this coin here, I found this about 4 years ago, and this is the oldest coin ever found on the Treasure Coast. And it's called a Carlos Nuana coin, and they started doing these, and I think in like 1520 or something, making this type of coin. So they were only making them a few years before this one was made. And it has an M on it, which means it was minted in Mexico. And on the other side is a G, which is the assayer, which is Gunowitz. And he only worked from 1544 to 1548. So that dates the coin. I found 2 of them that time. And when I found it, I didn't know what it was. And I took it to the state archaeologist. He's a good friend of mine. And boy, he was pulling out books and that stuff. And, you know, I said, is it an old coin? Yep. I said, is it back to the 1700s? Oh, no, older than that. I said, 1600s? He said, no, older than that. Boy, Jane and I were both getting a little excited on that. But they've done a couple stories down there, and they believe it to be the oldest coin found down there with a metal detector.
Wow.
You know.
Wow. And wait till you see these rings. This is crazy over here.
Yeah, the rings, a lot of these rings come out of the Otter Tail River. And,
out of the Otter Tail River?
Well, they tube. And, you know, I go up on the Otter Tail. It's funny. Have you ever heard that the Curse of Oak Island, that TV station?
No.
Okay, well, it's a very famous station. They've run for about 7 or 8 years, and they're looking for a big mine shaft they're digging up that pirates are supposed to dig a fortune. So anyway, they wanted to interview me. They got a new TV series coming out, and they paid me $250 to interview me. And I took over a bunch of Spanish coins, Spanish treasure, and I took this box of rings. This is my wife's rings, you know.
The ones that she's chosen from all your collection.
Yeah, she gets first choice, yeah. And anyway, they took about 30 pictures of this ring, or these rings. And when it aired on TV, I got cut out of the thing, and my wife's rings are famous. They've been on the Discovery Channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that. You've interviewed on the Discovery Channel?
Oh, yeah.
And where else have you been interviewed?
Well, I don't know.
Lots of different shows and things?
Yeah, quite a few.
Oh, you're so
humble. Okay, it's called a Gayo. It's a Hindu prayer, prayer box. And on the front there's an elephant. That is the very sacred elephant. It's called the Hindu god Ganesh. You know, and it's believed to come off a ship that sank in 1628. And what it had inside, it's silver, inside there are several beads. And the priest would bless these beads. And each one of them had a significance, a religious significance. They're in a little package here, you can just see these beads. But like this little dark one there, that was for the kidneys. He would bless that and that. You know, took it, showed it to the archaeologist. And in the back there's some writing, and this writing is a mantra. And that mantra, if you were to write that out, it would probably go 10 to 15 pages long.
Wow.
And it's, I showed it to Dr. DeBray, and he had me bring it back a couple times, and he showed it to 3 other archaeologists, and they say it's priceless. And I asked him, I said, well, give me a price on priceless, and they won't put $1 on it, but, you know, that's a very valuable piece.
I'm so glad I'm not holding it. It opens up.
Yeah, it opens up. It's silver, and
Oh my
But
gosh,
they-
so what is that? That's not a, I don't know if I dared hold it.
It's just, I didn't clean it. I mean, I could shine that up,
Oh my
but
gosh, and that's where,
but that was sunk on a ship, a sunken ship in 1628. Anybody that metal detects, where they start out is looking for coins, and I still love that, you know. You know, a lot of these coins are, well, almost all these coins are found in Frazee, and you know, the old coins, you know, they go way back now. In Frazee here, we were part of the Louisiana Purchase. You know, in the Louisiana Purchase, they purchased all the land west of the Mississippi. Okay, well, when the old ox cart days and those trading days, they mistook the Red River of the North for the Mississippi. And so the French claimed this area, the English claimed it, and we claimed it. So this area we're at right now was one of the last ones to get settled. You know, so we don't find the real old stuff. But I get back the stuff into the 1600s, or well, I'd say the 1800s, pretty common. And, you know, like downtown, you have tokens, you know, like good for 5 cents a trade or good for a free cigar or something like that. They didn't have enough money back then, and so they printed these tokens. Like this one is from George Bear. You know, he was a merchant in town. And what happens if he, you know, you come in and he gave you your change of a 5-cent token, that means that you had to come back and spend that 5 cents at his store.
right.
You know, and so they were very popular. You know, and I've got a lot of tokens. I did make the mistake of, there was a fellow that collected tokens, and you know, I traded him a whole bunch of tokens, and I found a dog license dated 1898 from Frazee. And I traded it to for a $5 gold coin, and that gold coin worth about 800 bucks now. And I mean, I can afford to buy a gold coin, but I never can find another dog license 1898.
oh,
I'm just sick that I dated it early on. But these coins, people don't
we
realize it.
have here, I'll hold it up so we don't have the glare.
Okay. You know, the shield nickels, they go back to 1800s. Now, the first
all
pennies,
this stuff,
that, you know, after they had the large cents, you know, was a flying eagle cent, and then we went to the Indian head penny and stuff like that. And like here's a 3-cent piece. That's a 3-cent silver.
Oh my gosh,
You know,
never
coin.
seen that before.
And that's, I think, probably in the 60s. And they also make, and here's a 3-cent, I don't know what it's made out of. It's iron or steel, you know, it's not silver anyway. I found that down in Corpus Christi, Texas, where I was visiting my son. And this bust dime, this dime is 1834. That come from Frazee here, you know. And here's, you know, this is a penny, 1806. It's a large cent. That's what our pennies used to look like, you know. And here's a seated half dime. They had half dimes, and that come from Frazee. And another flying eagle, another large cent. You know, I've got tons of these coins, you know, that I found. You know, I've got, I need, you know, walking quarters and tokens. But I'm looking down here. I have some, must be in one of the other books here. These are these Walking Liberty half dollars, you know, and here's one. There's some dog licenses and stuff like that. You know, it just, you know, that's part of the fun. But I think in one of these, I've got a couple, and I think it's in this one right here, of, here's, you know, breakfast token for cereal and stuff like that. These all come from Frazee. These are all tokens. But I found a couple watch fobs, and they're from President Taft. And found 2 of them in one yard.
Oh, we were looking at that when we first got here. Where was that?
It must be one of these other books here.
I think, yeah, I think it was, I remember, is it?
Oh, here they are.
Yes, yeah, we were looking at it when we first got here.
No,
My wife was
that's not
showing us.
them.
Where's the Taft one that we saw? Well, there it is.
Yeah, there they go. These are watch fobs from President Taft. This is, you know, from the cereal. This is a dog license 1924 from Frazee. You know, it's a long ways from. And here's a gold coin that I traded that, you know, 1880 or 1895 dog, you know, tag from Frazee for this 1880 gold coin. And like I said, it's worth about 800 bucks now, and I'm just sick. I'd much rather have that dog license back, you know.
Yeah.
And here's another 3-cent piece. And you know, the coins were silver up until, I think 1964, and then they started making the, what we call as a clad coin. So that's what you find most of the time is these clad coins, and like the pennies, it actually costs them 2 cents to make a penny, and they're just junk,
And so tell us what's over here now. So
Okay,
you've
this
got-
this thing here, I got into this last year, and Europe did not have enough copper for the Bronze Age. And there's a tribe of Indians, and I'm pronouncing this wrong, I say the Minoans, but it's different. But anyway, they came over to Isle Royale in Michigan and harvested copper to take over to make the bronze that Europe needed. And this copper is so pure that they can just pound it into shape. And that vein of copper actually runs into northern Minnesota, and like here's an arrowhead, that pounded out of copper. So this thing was made by taking another rock and pounding it on the copper and putting it into shape. Oh. And this arrowhead, this thing would date BC, before Christ. This here is a bird point. Look at how crude that is. That's what they use.
What is that? A what?
A bird point. It's an arrowhead to shooting birds.
Oh my gosh.
And the copper, you find a lot of hunks of copper. And this one would be a spear point, but I don't know if it's just that crude. I took it to some experts, and they said, no, this was actually the way it was. And it's one of the very early ones, but I don't know if that's true or not. And then this thing here, I'm not sure. This is a fish point. And you can see where it's pounded out of shape. But it looks so nice that I believe this might be from the old Hudson Bay trading type thing. And I know this is a strip of lead, and this comes from the old trading post. And the Hudson Bay, they sold these lead to melt down to make bullets. So this, and that's quite a bit of history. That's the great part about it.
That's a lot of history. Okay, and then you've got.
And I'm going to go back to this is a conglomeration. This is from the ocean now. This is what I found, and it was so neat. Everything is all encrusted a lot of times when you find it, and it's got a belt buckle. This could be a Civil War buckle. I don't know, but it looks so neat that I just figured I'll keep it. And this is a net weight, and this is a fishing weight, and it's just a big conglomeration. And I thought it was so neat. I just dipped it in wax to kind of preserve it. And I can always clean it up, but I find a lot of stuff that's in these incrustation stuff. The stuff that sank, it's on the reef, and the reef grows over it.
Wow.
And
then I love this.
These are a couple little tiny crosses that I found. This one is gold, and this one's silver. This one I'm still doing research on it, but this one goes way back. I'm having trouble remembering, that. But this gold one has, if you can look up close, you can see the skull and crossbones on the bottom of the cross. And the Garrett metal detector, when I found that, they did an article that was featured in their magazine. The one with the skull and crossbones on it.
And here you are in Frazee. You've been on Discovery Channel and magazines.
Yeah. This ring here, or not this ring, this bracelet is from the 1715 fleet. When I found it, it was in a clump like this. And I knew something was in there, and so I was, you don't want to break it apart because you don't know what's in there. So I took it and I put it in a bowl of olive oil. And that'll slowly dissolve this incrustation. And I forgot it. It sat there for about a year. And I happened to walk by and I seen it, so I put it in the tumbler, and here's this bracelet. Oh. And the only mark on that bracelet is RA. And we did some research, there is another company now in modern that's doing the RA, but this thing goes way back. This is 1700s. At least several of the divers said, yes, it's 1700s.
Wow.
And this ring, I got this, I think, last year. And out of all the stuff that I found, very seldom did I ever hit anything with my scoop, and I hit this one. But this is a low carat gold, and this would go back, they figured, to the 1500s. It's prior to the 1715 fleet. It's got the old onion blossom design, and that's how they were able to determine. I took this down to Steve Hodges, who's an expert on this stuff, and he's got experts that, he's got a coin shop. They come back as prior to 1715. So, I don't know.
So crazy. And then you found that.
This thing has probably got no value at all. But when Gene and I got married in 1959, and I left to go into the Navy. And I wanted to, over in Europe, there's a place that had cameos. And I wanted to get a cameo for my wife. And I stood extra watches, did extra duty to make extra money to buy her that cameo. And I bought the cameo, and a couple of years ago, they tore up the streets over here. I'm detecting after the streets tear up, and I found this Cameo. This is a real Cameo. The one I bought for Jean is actually, you know, was a fake Cameo. You know, so she finally got a real Cameo, and I found it, you know. And so,
And now for all your books.
yeah, these are the books that I've written.
Wow.
This was the first book that I ever wrote. This is the second, the third, fourth, fifth. And this actually, and this is the sixth one right here. And this one here, what happened on the books, you know, this is my, like I said, my very first one. These Spanish coins, these are reals that I found. And that's a pile of over 1,000 rings that I found.
What?
Yep, that's 1,000 rings there that we piled them on the table and, you know, took the picture.
Oh.
So I can, Jerry Pope is a friend of mine. He's the one who took that picture. You know, so if you want to call Jerry to verify that there's 1,000 rings there, he'll tell you that. But anyway, the book has been really widely accepted, and they're sold worldwide. But this is in black and white. I couldn't afford to do them in color. You know, so when I got up to this one here, well, we got a little bit smarter, and we made the margin smaller, made the printing a little looser, and we wrapped the words around the pictures. You know, and so this thing was over 200 pages, and we got it down to like 100 and, you know, 140
Jeez, and you said you
pages.
sell these internationally. And you
Yeah,
buy
I
all
just
over.
sent out an email, and I think we sold in 7 different countries. China, oh, my wife would know, Australia buys quite a few,
Wow.
Brazil, you know, it's really kind of different. But anyway, this book here has sold so many, I redid it in color. And, you know, so this book is identical to this, but it's in color. And I'm able to sell that, you know, this one sells for like $15, this one is $20. You know, but the color makes such a difference.
Let's go back to the metal detectors here, because I want to, what were you going to say, though? I don't want to cut you off.
Okay. These are just some of the metal detectors that I have. I have probably about a dozen. I'm one of these lucky guys. I got enough metal detectors that I can bring a new one home, put it in a pile, and my wife doesn't even notice it.
So before we go, what are some, do you have any metal detecting tips for people? If you had 3 tips for people, what would they be?
Well, the first one, like down in the Treasure Coast, the first thing is to dig everything. If it makes a noise, dig it up. Because what happens is these metal detectors pick up and what we call ferrous. In other words, like coins and stuff like that. But if you have a nail, it won't pick up the nail unless you put it into an all-metal mode. See, so there's all kinds of garbage on the beach, and it's amazing, you know, you go along and, you know, you'll probably dig 100 junk targets, but that one might be worth a small fortune.
Okay, because my son got into it. My brother was into metal detecting, and that was fun, but we got into a lot of garbage. So kids get distracted pretty easy because they're like, I've had enough bottle caps now for a day.
The first metal detector that I got, my wife bought me, and she bought it at Radio Shack. I think she paid either $30 or $40 for it, way too much money. And it was just a piece of junk. And, you know, so it ended up in the closet. I got discouraged not finding anything. And what happened, I was downtown in Frazee at the meat market, and this guy had a metal detector there. And I said, what's the story on the metal detector? And he says, it's for sale. I said, what do you want for it? $75. I tell you, that's the fastest draw that I ever had. I got my wallet out, I bought it, run home all excited about it, and he had left the batteries in it, and the batteries were corroded, and everything was just a big corroded mess. And, you know, I called him up, and he said, well, I'll give you your money back. I said, no, I'm going to fix it. I want this detector. So I worked all day long, stripped all those wires, put in new wiring and that stuff. Then I went out in my yard out here with now my newly repaired, brand new metal detector. And as I swung the detector, when it went over the dirt, it made a noise. I said, boy, that's, you know, not long. And I took a step and it made a noise. I took another step and it made a noise. As I stepped, every time it got close to the ground, it made a noise. And I was so mad. I figured, I want a metal detect. You know, I'm entitled to it. I've worked hard my whole life. I jumped in my car. I drove to Fargo, you know, and I got into this metal detecting shop up there. And the guy, I said, I need a new metal detector. And he came out with one identical to the one I bought. You know, I said, no, I want the very best. You know, and so he comes out and he said, well, I go over to England and his was sold for $1,200. And so I bought that metal detector. I came home, went out the same place, and this brand new $1,200 metal detector, and when it hit the ground, it made a noise. And what it was, I was walking right up the copper tubing line for my propane tank.
I was going to say.
There was nothing wrong with the first detector. But what happened, by being stupid, it was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I had a top-of-the-line detector and I started finding things right away, which kept me enthused, and the more I worked with it, the better I got.
Right, so
and now I'm the legend. You know?
Now you're the legend. Yeah, I think that's what it is. You have to have a good metal detector, because otherwise you get lots of junk, and then like my kid was like, yeah, I'm done, Mom. Like,
But if you brought your son over and he and I went out, I could show him what to look for. You know, you can eliminate the junk, you know, and you can, it's practice. It's just not getting discouraged in practice.
Yeah.
And if you're hunting someplace where there isn't anything, you're not going to find anything. You know?
right, right.
So to begin with, you know, hunt your own yard and that. I take kids out detecting oil, and I always carry extra money in my pocket. And I see a kid on the beach, they find all kinds of stuff. I go on ahead of them and drop them, you know, and
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and I just enjoy the heck out of it, and it's just, you know, it's a fun
cute.
thing. It's a wonderful hobby, and I'm 83 years old. I'm out there every day, you know, and I run into a close friend of mine, I think it was yesterday, in a wheelchair, much younger than I am. And I think what happened is he just didn't exercise. You know, when I was a county sheriff, or even when I was police chief, one of our guys would retire, and we'd have a big party for him. 3-4 years later, I'm a pallbearer. You know, you've got to be active. And right now, I'm 83, my wife is 82. I am having the best time I've ever had in my life. I'm enjoying life so much. And my fears right now is that it's going to end. And it will end someday. But right now, it's so much fun. And I got sick. I got bit by a deer tick the other day. And, boy, I was really sick. I had over 250 people sent me messages to get well and stuff like that.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
I mean, how many people are blessed like that? You know, and it is a blessing.
That small town life, where even though we're not as small town as we used to be, you know, but we are still small town, rural Minnesota.
My wife told me last year, she was making something. She said, "Can you run downtown real quick?" And she was out of some ingredient. And I said, "No." And she looked at me and I said, "I'll go down and get it, but it ain't going to be real quick. I know everybody. I'm going to be talking and visiting." And that's wonderful. People don't realize that the quality of life has a value, and small town has a great value. I just love small town stuff.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Terry. This has been awesome.
I enjoyed this immensely. And
wow.
you know, come back.
Yes.
Bring your son over. And
I will.
You know, because you were just, you know, I've got much more than this.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Well, it's fun. It's fun because I get to hold some of this stuff too, and I'm like, yowza, that's pretty impressive.
Why don't you?
But first, he's gonna let me hold some treasure. Oh my gosh, a whole handful of authentic treasure. You're so funny. You're just so casual. This isn't like,
yeah,
don't touch it. It's like, I'm not gonna. Oh my gosh, look at that. I've never done that before. A whole handful of treasure.
It is treasure. That is actual treasure.
Wow. I mean, how old is this again? This is
None of that would be newer than 1715.
wow.
So it's all 1600 or 1700s, early 1700s.
Well, thank you, Terry, and thanks for watching 6 over 60. Stories of great people living a great life at a great age.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy.